Good morning, it's Brian Whitten here, NET Art. I thought I'd just start this video by showing you the new Facebook page. If you would like to be notified of future videos when I put them up, you can click the subscribe button here, and once you've subscribed and got your YouTube account, you'll get a notification button and you can get notified when I put videos up. But I'm under the belief you've actually got to have a YouTube account. I wanted to start today's video and call it the rock, mostly because of this rock here, which like I said, if you've been looking at my channel, you probably find that I keep making a video and then something else crops up and I think I'm done, and then I'm not done, and obviously I'm not done. I've got far more work to do, it would appear. So basically I was going to start with this rock because it was sort of seemed to be a bit personal as well, in the manner in which I found it. I did mention it before in a video already. This rock, to a degree, was a little bit personal in where I found it. It was in a river where I sit pretty constantly. I, on a hot day, went down. It was about 35 or nearly 40 degrees on that really hot weather we've just had, and I went and perched myself under a bridge in a little rapid in the river, and looked to the left and saw that rock that you are seeing broken into three parts, which is how you see it there. I won't go into it much further than that. It was just that there, one part of that cracked on the way home and broke into another three parts, and that the other two parts I had also broke into three parts. And I guess the 9 being significant, in the video I made before that I called it 9 from 9. Yes, these things happen. They've been happening for quite some time, but that's exactly what happened. I made a video, put it up, called it 9 from 9. The one before that I told you that the reason I would see all these rocks on the ground, and as many of them, would be the sacrificial murder of people being, commonplace. I would see that as the reason why they come back. And then the very next video I go and pick this rock up, which then has the sacrificial image on it. So like I said, I was going to call this the rock because of this rock, and then I was going to call it rocks because of something that happened with this rock as well, which I have actually written to the, well, not written, I did write actually. I wrote to the Prime Minister and attached 2 images that I'm going to put in this video about that rock there. I then became more aware of something that had to do with these rocks here, and then I became aware of something about this rock here. So having become aware of all those 4 things, I've decided to make another video and call it time, okay, because all of them were related to time when I stopped and thought about it. And time now would be the time in the morning when we can hear so many birds. So excuse me, there are birds swooping and calling and trains hooting, but nonetheless we will put up with a little bit of noise at this point and we'll move on. Now I did want to bring this up, but before I go on I would just mention that in actual fact what we're doing with every one of these comets has hit the Earth in the direction that was rotating, and the manner in which it got out to 24 degrees, one would assume the Earth was spinning faster at some point down the track, and just how much faster it span after the comet impact, I don't know. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is the video is about time, okay? And what I wanted to do is bring to your attention here what is called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, okay? This is where we are, because of a sonar test done many years ago when they first started to scope the bottom of the ocean. They used to think it was all flat. the mid-Atlantic ridge here, when they scanned it, it came back like on a sonar unit, like the land was striped. Okay, and they couldn't work out why, and then they realised that the mid-Atlantic ridge here, in actual fact, had recorded, because of the lava that gets pumped out of it, that the land mass in the bottom of the ocean here did in actual fact come back striped, and they couldn't understand why. And the reason they found that to be the case is the particles, without getting too complicated for those who don't want to get confused, when lava cools, there are particles within the lava that take up a north-south resting place. So in other words, when the lava hardens, particles align themselves with the north and south pole. And from that process, because they then were able to study the stripes on the floor here, they realised that our world goes through what's called pole shifts. Okay, and that is where the North Pole becomes the South Pole and the South Pole becomes the North Pole. This has always been under, at least where I've heard it from, an assertion or an assumption, probably more assumption. It seems to be like that, that what happens is our globe going through a pole shift twists like this, okay? It goes around like that, upside down, okay? That is the theory that seems to be that most planetary scientists do. The reason I went through the process of showing you what happens in the Serapeum is there is another way that can happen. You can probably tell by the birds tweeting now, if you can actually hear them, that it is actually in the morning, and I actually spent a little bit of time last night really looking at this, because I wanted to be correct in what I actually said. I had a basic idea of what I was doing, but I had to really stop and think about how best, I had to be accurate in how I just portrayed what the message was. Like I said, the important thing is to realise that at this point here, we have seen 2 comets hit the planet here, and we've seen 2 comets hit the planet here, and we have been given a lesson by the people that delivered the comets, which is a good thing, okay? I'll get into this maybe in another video even. This is getting too long, once again. So we're getting a lesson in planetary motion, both of these here. What I would like to bring to your attention, like I said, and have another video, is that this is an impact in the Southern Ocean. It's depicted up in the foreground area as well. I'll put an insert there for you now, and just insert a image that will show you where that is. The lesson we receive here is the way the motion of the planet acts, depending on where the comet hits. In other words, this one here, the motion as portrayed when a comet hits real low down here, low to the mass of the planet, then it can rotate the planet like that. Okay? That's what that one says. This one here says when you get hit above or more closer to the mass of the planet, so instead of it hitting up here, we're going to hit it more here, that it downward motion. This is what we have happen really, 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 really far, far easier than I would have ever thought. But that is what the lesson is here, which brings me to the next part, which is the lesser galleries, because now I know what this is. What you're seeing here is the prediction of what happens when that comet hits. It hits in the southern hemisphere, and it drives our planet into an elliptic orbit around the sun, almost straight away up like that. Okay, that's exactly what it's portraying. This is portraying what our planet does when this comet hits it. That's exactly what happens. So back to our pumpkin being the Earth again, when it's done its loop around the sun like this and spun around and retained its poles like this, it's come back in here like this, and this motion here, it's just come back in like this and just swings back into this other plane here. Isn't that an amazing thing? That's exactly what this is saying happens. It says that when it gets hit by this comet, it gets knocked up, it goes one loop over the sun like that, retains its axis, retains its rotational speed and whatnot, and etc., and then just rolls back in like this and comes back in there, and it takes about, between that angle and that angle, it takes about 5,000 years. Well, not, maybe 4, 3, there to there. So if we're talking 11, you know, somewhere between 3 and 3,500. Now I just wanted to show you a cross section of the pyramid to discuss with you the timing for the comets that are hitting the planet. There's 2 in the first instance and 2 in the second instance, and the shafts are telling us which comets in which hemisphere are responsible for the halt and start of the movement of the planet in the event these 2 comets hit it. Okay. First of all, I want to mention to you, as we know from the Serapeum, that right there where all of the comets land in Australia is the end of the sequence, right? So we know that's one comet, right? One comet impact, and our timeline is this way. Okay. This is the first comet sequence. We know it hit the southern ocean, bounced off, broke into 4, and then severed the Australian continent at the end. The northern one, we know, created, almost severed Central America, or hit in Central America, almost severed South America from North America, and then landed and stopped in the Mediterranean, or I should say created the Mediterranean, prior to the end of the sequence. So our timing is 1 comet, 2 comets, 3 comets, 4. Okay, now how long that takes to get from there to there, I do not know, and I'm not a planetary scientist. And you would need to know the mass and the speed and all such things, and I have not that at my beckoning, I guess. I could, and if I'll be honest with you, even if I had it, I wouldn't have a clue. Okay, like I said, that's way out of my league, and I'll leave that for planetary scientists to ponder. I'll move on. And further to that movement of the planet and the way it retains its north-south aspect in this rotation, which melts the ice on both poles, in my opinion. If you're wondering what the walls are here and the jagged walls in these cavities and what they mean, is that where we go, and we're showing on, excuse me, I'll point with my pointer, where we go up and below, up and below, up and below here, it was our planet bouncing on that plane. We have the same thing happening here. That's exactly what that's depicting. You'll find there's little notches along there. When we go up from the point of that comet impact, the planet, when it starts going up here, we are seeing this like that, either side of that notch, displaying exactly the same thing here. Our planet bouncing backwards and forwards on that plane as it goes up. It's on the outside wall. When it comes back down, it's on the inside wall, right, like that. And it's back on the outside wall until we get to the point of where we have finished. And I will show you that it actually operates, when you want to work out and calculate that, very much the same way all the things work, in that they are a sweeping arc. And the sweeping arc, when we're talking about the Serapeum, and this motion here begins here on this flat point here, to this flat point here. And what you're seeing then is that is where you're getting your timing from, okay? And you're seeing going up like that, coming back down on the inside wall, like this. Our point stops here. That is why that marker is there and there. It goes down like this to that point and then comes back up, and that is why you see the curvature on those walls there, and because we're heading back to the planet, taking up the plane that had left, which is this plane here with the sun. Isn't that amazing? What an amazing, you know, like I said, I don't know if I've made any discoveries or not, but I don't know whether any of you planetary scientists know that. I reckon that that may very well be a discovery, but that's what that does, and that's how that works, and that's what it's doing. I'll move on now. I just wanted to show you the image I've taken from a lookout on the way to the Kariong Glyphs in my last video, albeit this is time related. It's more height related actually. I just want to show you where we're standing at that lookout, because that natural fact is about the height of the Kariong Glyphs site. It is only just down the road from here. I've gone past the Kariong Glyphs site, just gone up to a little bit of a hill to get to here. I would expect that this rock is probably not as coincidental. It's probably exactly the same height as the glyphs. But I wanted to show you something where the glyph site is. Maybe you didn't notice it. I didn't notice it until I'd actually made the video, but like I said, I'll give you a height. This is more of a height issue than it is a time issue. At this place here, there's a lot to see. I'll draw your attention here to these rocks here. You can say they're natural if you wish, okay? I know what they're depicting. They're depicting tidal waves, and I would suspect that everywhere where we're seeing these megalithic buildings, or not buildings, but megalithic boulders and rocks left all over our mountains, are telling us how high the waves got, okay? And that, if you think that's the only place that's depicted, it is not, because I'll show you an image now that I took walking down there. This was taken off a rock on the way down the track. Yeah, you can think that's natural if you want, but it isn't. It's actually telling you which direction the waves came from, and well, it could even possibly tell you how many there were. But I can assure you that those other rocks that I just showed you in front of the big rock, they're not. You can go and think they're natural, but I'll go on with the pyramid makers telling me the story of what happened to our planet. Like I said, this is more a height issue. Now I want to discuss with you the time issue. Time factor when it comes to the glyphs are in actual fact a very difficult thing. But I want to put a proposal forward, is that what we're seeing, certainly in the Egyptian history, it is not correct if in actual fact we have a pyramid tracking the sun from 10 degrees to 24 degrees. And that is what we've got. It's pretty hard to argue that point. So like I said, I've got the entire complex. All of it is to do with the tilt of the globe and the motion of the planet, and Nibiru's entry into our, well, so I'll say entry into our solar system, but certainly entry into our inner solar system when it comes back into a point where it affects us. But as a time issue, we must discuss what we're looking at here. You know, we look at this and we say, yeah, there's a UFO, is there? What do we see here? We see 3 marks under a UFO, which is also very, very depictive of the entire story, i.e. that these 3 comets were brought by UFOs, steered to our planet, and caused the catastrophe. Okay? Separated the land masses all in one day, all 7 comet impacts. Like I said, I don't read hieroglyphics, but maybe it's time I started to. So time. So we're going to ask ourselves, who put these glyphs here and why? And the more I think about it, I said to you that it was put here by the survivors. I'm more inclined to think that the glyphs themselves are put here by the people that put the rock here, which are the pyramid builders. And you can say, well, yes, but the Egyptian culture didn't exist. Nowhere is there Egyptian glyphs written in the pyramid, except for there's a pretty some poor efforts, I believe, down in the Serapeum on some of the boxes. I've never been to the place. But to me, that depicts a knowledge of 3 comets and UFOs at the time the glyphs are getting drawn. I would suspect that the glyphs are drawn by the very same people. I actually think we're seeing the covering up of the structure by the people themselves that put it there. Only to sort of mislead us to a given point of time. And obviously we're at the point of time where the truth is coming out here. So like I said, I don't read Egyptian glyphs, and I don't. There are people that have helped me in the process of doing what I'm doing, so I do not make these videos in an attempt to upset them or anything. But you know, this is what we're seeing here. You know, we're seeing here the creation of the, you know, we've got 3 marks here. This is what this thing did. It created our tropics and an equator. So like I said, I don't, and we're looking at the movement here, look. So I don't read glyphs, but I sure as hell look at that and I see a whole lot of different things than what I get told people tell me they're supposed to mean. And it's not just this either. I've come across quite a lot of other things that I look at and I think, well, you can tell me what they mean, but knowing what the pyramid is there for and its true and real purpose make me wonder as to whether or not we're really looking at some of these glyphs with a true understanding of what they actually mean. Now, before I go on with this, I will say one thing, that there seems to be a drive on social media. My channel is very monitored. That you will proceed and back me, providing I stay away from the little rocks. The little rocks are what got me where I am, thank you very much. So I will be well and truly looking at the little rocks, and you should be glad I look at the little rocks, because I'm going to show you on this rock. This is an image of this rock. I'll now insert it. It was the one I've had for 5 years or 6 years or so, and I have put this image into a video and took this photo of this rock in November of last year, okay? And I hadn't gone back to this rock for a while. I didn't really need to. I had the image on it I wanted. That video was uploaded and I explained that it looked like there had been some interference in space. This was early on in the piece too, when I was learning what was happening. That I said that this looked like to be some interference, and that there was one comet that landed in the Western Australia over here, which is, this was the depiction of the greater, you know, the Great Australian Bight here around, you know, Port Augusta and whatnot. And that this also then indicated one comet impact here and another one there, and the third one was there, right? So what I wanted to show you was, the other day I thought, I told you I was going to contemplate putting some advertising down my white truck, or white Lancer, and, you know, advertise ET art and go and do those things. And I thought, oh well, I might put this rock under and see if I can get a clearer image of it, right? And I happened to slide this part of this rock that I got this image of last year in November on the 19th, and slid it under my microscope, and it revealed this. Right now, this image you're now looking at is the very same rock taken yesterday or the day before. I slid it under there in the hope to get a clearer image, and you'll note now there is no Nibiru. There is no little man standing here. There is no little thingy here with the likelihood of interference in space anymore. That isn't the only thing that isn't there. If you think I must with that. I haven't done anything with it. It's the same stone. It's been in my possession the whole time. There are a couple of ways that this can happen. I know which way it happened. Like I said, some of the stories behind the stones and the manner in which they're delivered can be a little bit personal. This is one of those occasions. What we're seeing here is time. This has got a lot to do with time. An amazing thing. I did say to you they came back in time to save us, and you might think, yeah, right. Well, they just gave me an example of back in time, because now I'll just zoom out this way. I'll go back to the other image. Now, just in case you think I've fiddled, I'm just going to show you one other image. This is an image with a microfiber fine line pan there. That is the metal part of the tip of one of those fine line pens. The black bit there is a little black bit of texture hanging out the one of those fine line, like an art line. Now, I'm not going to draw this here, am I? Right? I can't draw what was there. I just thought I'd put that there to show you something, but now I'm going to show you something else that is on the original one, and then I'll explain to you what's happened, right? This is the original one, and when we go up here, I'll zoom in there so you can see that we have the number 4 written in Roman numerals, 1V. That is how I've always known there were 4 comets that separated the Australian continent. It was this rock that told me that was the case. Okay. I actually haven't had a look. I'll be honest, I haven't had a look at the top of this rock yet to see if the top half's changed. But this bottom half has. This is at a microscopic level here. It's okay, the image of Australia on this little rock and the 4 comet impacts are still on it. So that part of it's okay. But this part here, I wanted to show you there where it says 4, because I want to show you the other one. Okay, I want you to compare those 2 marks. See them? So what have we got? We've got a dot here and a mark, a dot there and a slash. Okay, now if we go back to the other image, we've got a dot here and a slash. So what we haven't got is a slash, slash and dot. Okay? So between one image and the other, I've lost Nibiru and all those bits and pieces, but on this portion of the image, I've only lost that bit, and that dot. I've got that and that bit on both. Alright? And remember, that's not the image, so what we've lost is the slash off there, the other one there, and the dot underneath. So you realise what's happened here? I haven't modified. You've seen that I cannot modify it. Look at the size of a texture. That is a fine art line one. You know what they're like? Really, really fine black tip with a metal. So I can't draw this. Have you worked out what's happening and why the video is called Time yet? What's happened since I collected this rock 5 years ago and found what I found on it in this portion of the rock? At some point in time, the very rock itself has been returned to me in an unfinished state. And that is what you're seeing there. There are other ways to do it, but that is what's happened here. We are looking at, which is why they left 4 incomplete, to let you know that it is the rock that was given to me now that is in an incomplete state. Like I said, they can get personal, but you've got to understand why they're doing it. This is why I made the video today. That is what we're seeing here. We are seeing that I have personally been given a rock and had it changed. Somebody, somehow, gave me a rock. Now, the rock I have, this one, is now not complete. What was on it is not on it anymore. It's been taken off. It wasn't taken off. I didn't take it off. It wasn't on there. It's not on this one. This has come back before it was finished this time. That's what's happened. That's what I call a video time. And once again, I have had something given to me that has tried to prove to you lot what is going down here. It is a daunting thing, but nonetheless, I did send these two images to the Prime Minister and a half a deck of cards. You'll know what I mean. Hey, listen, really, quite frankly, there is an element of time involved, obviously, and we probably all need to take that into note. For the rest of what I'm thinking, okay, in respect to little rocks, I did mention them. I'm going to pursue those because the truth is coming from them, and I'm getting directed in areas, in my opinion, resolving some unanswered questions. So I've still yet to look at this. I have got a microscope on order. I'm just going to bring one of these images up. I know that's really, really ordinary when you look at that on your, you know, that is not a real clear one. I'm still working on this. You can't really see that very well. It's a bit messy, but I'll insert that clearer, or insert a few of them so that you can see what they are. I'm working on that one because, like I said, as much as some of these mysteries of the planet, you might think, wow, they're getting solved. I'll be honest with you, the stuff that's on these rocks is really, really, really complicated. And I think I know what this is doing, but I won't do it until I've got my microscope, and I will not put the video up until I am 100% sure of what it does. Okay, but I'm pretty sure. I'm just not going to put it in a video yet. I've got a new microscope on order, and when I get that, I'm sure I should be able to produce some really, really nice images that make things even clearer than what they already are. And I would think if you're a planetary scientist and give that analysis of the planetary motion being displayed in the pyramid is very, very, very accurate, and it would depict to me that a pole shift is certainly driven from a comet impact on either the north or you know, northern or southern hemisphere, depending on, you know, where the planet is at the time. So I think that certainly probably worthy of a bit of a look into. That brings us to the end of this video now, and just before I finish off, I just will have a short discussion on what we've actually learnt. I would expect that you know, over the last 2 short months or 3 short months, we've learned rather a lot. And if we look at what we've learned again today, we have learned quite a lot about planetary motion, the comets. We've learned quite a lot. We called this time, this video, because I would suspect that there's not a lot of time left, okay, for certain people on the planet who have partaken in behaviour that we would deem certainly improper to the nth degree, and utmost of inhumane behaviour, really. Listen, I don't want to go into that too much in this video, but I would see from where I'm looking, I have seen 2 white stripes or slashes moved off the Roman numerals 4. That is removing 2 of what was 3 lines there. I do bring your attention to this. I'm just going to cut and paste an image here in for you, which is the Sacsayhuaman walls in Peru, and note where the little white circle is, okay, halfway along this wall. What that depicts is the arrival of the first warning comet the last time round, okay. It landed in the middle of Western Australia, and that little circle that we're looking at depicts the comet on the ground already, which is the little one in Australia, whilst the other 2 are still well and truly in the air. So we copped a warning last time. I look now and wonder whether 9/11, I know I'm not saying that was them, but there are certainly evidence there that would be indicating to me certainly weaponry that we may not have, so whether or not it was a plan of ours initially, being the United States and elements within their government and other international interests. But in actual fact, if that's the case, then there are elements in 9/11 that are unexplained. Well, then maybe that was their interference as well, as was possibly 3/11. So if 3/11 is a creation of those that got interested in 9/11, 6/11 would be a bit of a worry, because like I said, they do everything in threes, and we are looking at 9/11 and 3/11. Well, sitting right in the middle of that is 6/11. So we would want to ponder that. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and like I said, there is still time, but it is, I would think, running out. Having said that, the mere fact I'm talking to you and saying what I'm saying would indicate to me there is still time. So I guess providing those within the positions they are in are acting in a manner that we expect, and not only we expect, I can tell you now, it isn't what we expect. There are other people to answer to, obviously, and that has come to the situation. One further thing is that in reality, the pyramid itself wouldn't be built in the way and manner it was if it was humanity and the perils portrayed upon us by what would be a one world government, new world order, one world power. I would certainly think that certainly design structure has been proven in the past will not be acceptable. It's certainly, if it has the basis of human sacrifice as part of its peril, that certainly will not be permitted to exist. So I would suspect, like I said, you have time, but probably not a lot of it. Okay, that's the end of this video. Thanks very much. I hope you've stayed to the end, and I hope I've kept you entertained. This is Brian Whitten and ET Art, finishing off. And yes, I am still going to look at the little rocks, okay, because they've brought us a long way. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.